In Adventure Awaits, there are a few default presets for custom venues that I'm kind of taking as like build suggestions. It's almost like they've decided that these things would work really well with the custom venue and getaway system, so they've given you a jumping off point for them. And one of those default presets is the senior living community. And when I first saw this in the trailer, I was really excited about it. Now, having actually played with it a little bit, it's a little less exciting than I kind of thought it would be, but I do still think it's an interesting concept. So basically it's like a getaway where a bunch of old people are hanging out. They play card games, they'll do puzzles, they'll eat dinner together. Also, one of the defaults is to have them work out, which in real life is totally realistic and makes sense. However, in The Sims is like a death sentence. Elders can't exercise in this game, they die from overexertion. So them having that as one of the default settings is really funny. But basically my plan today is to try and build a senior living community in The Sims 4 using this new system. We're gonna do it here on this Jellyfish Jubilee lot in the new Gibby Point world, and I'm kind of picturing it being sort of like a U-shaped building, something along those lines. They'll have some outdoor space, they'll have a lot of community space inside, and we'll hopefully have space for a lot of Sims to live here. And I actually built this live on my Twitch channel first last week. It took me a really long time, which was funny because I set out to build a small custom venue. I was like, okay, my last few builds have been 64 by 64 lots, 50 by 50 lots. I built like 5 giant things in a row. So my goal was to have this one be a little bit simpler, but then it took me like 10 hours. So I was way off. But let's go ahead and just jump straight into the speed build section because I have got a lot to show you. Starting with me just trying to figure out the layout of the building. I had this concept in my head of that sort of U shape that I showed you a second ago, and I wanted it to go around a pool. But that's kind of all I had to go off of when I was first starting. It's only a 40 by 30 lot, which actually is a pretty decent size, but considering how much space I wanted to have for it, it actually felt kind of small when I was doing this part because I was pretty close to the edge of the lot and running out of room. But basically, I was thinking we would have the pool in the middle there, a little bit of outdoor space kind of around it. I wanted to have some kind of garden or like some kind of shared outdoor space for them to do yoga outside in. I also wanted to have 8 bedrooms upstairs if I could manage it because I wanted to have 8 elders that could stay here. I wanted to have a couple rooms for the staff to sleep in downstairs. We need to have a kitchen. I want to have a dining room. There needs to be some kind of like living room space with a TV. I'd love to have a games room with all the different board game tables. I kind of wanted to have an art room so we could do some craft stuff. And then all of a sudden it became this massive undertaking that I didn't really prepare myself for. But you'll see all of that kind of slowly come together. The only thing that I did not include that was kind of part of the defaults is I didn't put any gym equipment. And I made that call because I didn't really want any elders to die of overexertion while they were here. Elders can swim safely. They have no issues with swimming. That's not going to kill them. And they can also do yoga safely. So I didn't put like a treadmill or any weights in here, but I do have yoga and a pool. So that is a safe form of elder exercise. And I just changed those preset settings to have swimming and diving and stuff because again, it's safe for them. I guess depending on how you're trying to play, you might want them to have workout equipment, but I don't really want grandma to come here and die. That's sort of my concern. Oh, and I guess the other big concern is that there was a lot of discussion and maybe like confusion about what this kind of building is. I think when you hear senior living community or retirement home, a lot of people's minds go to like completely different places, right? And I guess that also depends on your personal experience because some people's family live in assisted living places where there's like medical care around the clock. And so you might expect there to be like a doctor's office or some kind of medical space inside of this building. You might know somebody who lives in a retirement community and there's no like medical care there. It's just a bunch of old people all living in a condo building together, basically. As with anything in real life, there's varying degrees of this kind of space and it could mean a lot of things. But this is The Sims, so we're kind of limited to what The Sims is capable of. And so for our purposes, this is more of just like almost like a summer camp, but for old people instead of kids. I think that's probably the best way of thinking about what kind of gameplay would take place here, because you can't actually live on this lot. It's a custom venue, not a residential space. Your Sims aren't gonna get any medical care on this lot. It's more like a place for elders to come and like hang out with other elders and do hobbies. That's sort of my intention with what I built. And there are ways that you could do it differently. Like you could do this as a residential rental instead and then have the Sims live in all different units, but like their bedroom is the unit. You also probably could use a lot of the hospital stuff from Get to Work to decorate in here if you wanted to do that. But I think functionally, it won't really work the way that you want it to based on your real life experiences. I don't know if that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, people are just gonna come here for a few days and like swim and do puzzles. That's basically the extent of this gameplay. And I guess you could also pretend that the elder in your household lives here permanently and they just come home on the weekends, because the max you can do is have a 6-day long getaway. So you could have them stay here for 6 days and then come home for a day or two and then go back for 6 days again. And you can kind of pretend that they're visiting you at home and that they live here. But in reality, they live at home and they're just visiting here. This custom venue stuff has a lot of potential, but it also requires a lot of your own imagination for it to make sense. It's kind of like the boarding school that I built. There's not actually a boarding school. You can't actually go to boarding school, but you can kind of pretend that they're going to boarding school and like play it that way in your own game, in your own mind. Same thing here. You can kind of pretend that they're going to a retirement home if you wanted to do this. Something else people were kind of weirded out by was the inclusion of the pool. There was a lot of people in chat being like, what kind of retirement home has a pool? What kind of rich people are going here? What is this place? It is very fancy. This is very luxurious. But I think people thought that in Florida, like, because I'm from Florida, I think they thought that I have some kind of like twisted Florida perspective and I think everybody has a pool everywhere all the time. That's why I put this here. That's not the reason. The reason is that the elders can't do other exercise. Swimming is kind of like the only safe bet. And also because this build is kind of focused on adventure awaits and all of the diving stuff is new from that pack, I wanted to be able to use diving stuff here too. So it was kind of just me trying to use all the new things together on this in a safe manner for my Sims. I have never been to a place like this before personally, but also my experience is just really different. My experience is like my grandfather needing round-the-clock care because he's been so sick recently. So it's just one of those things. These are completely different types of buildings. I think we all just have different experiences going into this and we're applying our own personal experience to what we're building. But anyway, that kind of gives you some context of what the build is like. Now you're seeing me try to brave the front of the building. It was kind of weird because I started with the back this time, which I don't normally do, but I felt more confident in how I wanted the back to look. So I began there, and then at the end I was like, okay, now we gotta figure out the front of this place. I'm still not super sure about how the front looks, but I think it came together in the end. I also really had a hard time with the lighting on this lot because the lighting looks really bad, I think, all the time. It just is in shadows, kind of weird. It's got this nice blue color outside, but you almost can't even tell because of the shadows. I know, blue suburban, I'm sorry. It kind of had to be done. We've got these cute balconies on either side. There's gonna be a nice front porch in the middle. I've got some dormers up top, and I think that that helped to split up the space a little bit better. It's just so big. It's so long and wide. And I think it's realistic actually in the kind of shape that it is. But I also think that sometimes in real life, things that are realistic and look good in like a normal real building look terrible when you try and translate that to The Sims. And I don't know, this like super wide thing, it's throwing me off. But I love the back, I love the inside. I think it's okay to not be obsessed with the front of my own work. I am my own biggest critic and I am being critical of myself right now. But while I do this, I feel like now's a good time for a couple of life updates. I tend to drop those into speed builds like this. I'm gonna start with the good stuff, and then we can talk about the rest of it afterward. But I went to TwitchCon last weekend. So I was all the way in San Diego for a few days. I got there on Wednesday and I came home on Monday. So I was actually there for kind of a while. Granted, my flight landed kind of late on Wednesday night, but still. On Thursday, I went to the San Diego Zoo, which if you're not familiar is actually a very famous zoo because it's so well known for its conservation work. It's like a really good zoo to get to go and visit. It's a nonprofit. It's really big. It is just a really, really cool place. I've been there a couple of times now because TwitchCon is typically in San Diego, so I take that excuse to go and visit while I'm in town. But I had a great time. I loved going there. There was a partner party for Twitch partners on Thursday. I went to that at night. I feel like when you hear the words partner party, it sounds like really special and super cool. But in reality, it's like thousands of people standing outside on the terrace of the San Diego Convention Center, and it's like really packed and not really my thing. Let's put it like that. So in previous years, and this year included, what I tend to do is go to the partner party because all my friends are there and I want to see them, even though I don't really want to go to the partner party. And I kind of like hang out in a corner the whole time, because if you try to walk through the middle, I cannot express to you how many people are there. It's unbelievable. I mean, it makes sense, right? But it's just so busy, like it's very overwhelming. So I kind of just hang out off to the side and talk to my friends. Great time. I had fun. Then on Friday, there was like a Sims official meetup thing happening at TwitchCon. So like people from the community, creators all went to this like meetup space. TwitchCon has just Meetup Space 1, Meetup Space 2, and there's just different games and different communities and groups will have things going on in those spaces. It's kind of just like a big open room, basically, and people will gather there at different times, but The Sims kind of did a thing that morning. There was a drag showcase on Friday night, which was pretty fun. I've been to that the last few years, always have a great time. This year, Trixie Mattel hosted it, which was so wild. They must have had budget at this year's TwitchCon, so that was kind of cool to see her too. And then my friends and I did a PowerPoint night just in our hotel room on Friday night. Really loved that as well. That's kind of what I needed. That's like more my speed at a convention. Like I'm not a big party person, never have been, never will be, but I do love just hanging out with my friends. So we did a PowerPoint night on Friday night. And if you haven't seen one of those before, I hadn't been to one before this either. Basically, everybody makes a PowerPoint about a thing they are interested in or what. It could be anything. It could be literally anything. And then you all present it to each other. So I did mine, and this was a little bit out there, okay? But I did mine about the time that my great-great-grandfather was murdered. And I told the whole story. I had like newspaper articles from 1907 when it happened. And then my friend did hers on aquascaping. There was one about Neopets. There was one about vegetables. Dan did his on gymnastics. So it was quite the variety of content in these presentations, which I found really, really fun. And then on Saturday, it was my meet and greet. So I had like an official meet and greet line at TwitchCon. I have the past few years. I got to meet a lot of you, which was really fun. It's always nice to get to see you all in real life. It's like so wild because I don't know, I sit here talking to myself and then I go to these things and there's like actual people there, real life people that are like face to face with me. That was about 2 hours long. So I did that from 12 until 2 on Saturday. And that is the end of the good part. Once my meet and greet ended, that's when things started to go downhill. See, I'm laughing, but it's actually not funny. So what happened was, we had all planned, my friends and I, to go to like this karaoke place. It's like an arcade and they have karaoke there too on Saturday night. Because they always do this big TwitchCon party that like everybody can buy a ticket to on Saturday night. But the tickets are over $100. It's like a theme park ticket. It's honestly similar to the cost of the con ticket, but they do a block party. So they like close off one of the streets in downtown San Diego. And I think all the restaurants will give out some kind of free food. There's like free drinks probably, but it is really expensive. And it's hard for me to justify the cost of that. And also I don't really vibe with going to this like super crowded space at nighttime. So we had all planned to go out instead and do something else kind of further away. We went to a place called Round One, which is actually really cool. If you haven't seen it before, again, it's like an arcade space, but they had bowling, they had all these claw machines, like it was really, really awesome. But pretty soon after we got there, my sister texted me and she said, "Hey, are you out or are you at the hotel?" And you might think nothing of that, right? But the thing is, I did, because just that morning, before I went to my meet and greet, my family had texted me and said that my grandpa was doing really, really bad. Kind of a concerning message to receive. Obviously, he's been really sick for the past like year. He's been in and out of the hospital a lot and stuff. But I got a very concerning text about grandpa that morning. And then Shanna texts me being like, "Hey, are you out?" So I'm like, oh my God, something really bad has happened. I'm like panicking, you know, I'm texting her back like, "No, I'm not, but I can go back to the hotel." She didn't reply to me. She wouldn't reply. So I decide to like go back to the hotel. I leave. It was like 20 minutes away from the hotel. I just panicked all my friends, you know, because I'm like sat there at the table freaking out a little bit. I get back to the hotel and my family's dog died. It wasn't Grandpa, it was the dog. Captain had been really sick for a while as well. My parents had 3 dogs at the beginning of this year. One of them passed away earlier this year. There's 2 left, one who had cancer for a year and a half, and the other one is a 13-year-old Rottweiler. So, you know, we're not really in a good spot with the health of our pets. We have a lot of very old pets in my family. And I knew Captain's the one who had cancer. I knew that he was obviously very sick. I knew that he had cancer, but I didn't know or expect that it was like that. You know, it was kind of a shock, I think, to all of us that it got so bad so quickly. And when they were texting me, they were telling me basically like, "Hey, we're in sort of an emergency situation." And so when I got back to the hotel, my mom was like, "Okay, listen, so we're kind of in like an emergency situation here. I just want to tell you before anything happens." And then I tried looking at flights to see if I could get home. And I'm going to try to not cry right now while I tell you this. But I couldn't, because I was in San Diego, which is the complete other side of the country from Orlando, where I live. It's like a 5-hour flight, plus you lose 3 hours going back. So it would take 8 hours to get home. Even if I left at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, my plane wouldn't have landed until 6 p.m. in Florida, and that's just, it's too late, you know? So anyway, I couldn't book a flight home. I couldn't get home early, and I am dealing with a lot of guilt and a lot of grief about that. I've actually been crying almost nonstop for a few days, and then we add on this whole Sims EA sale business on top of it. I am going through it right now. It's been a really, really rough year for my family, and this whole EA business is just the cherry on top. But anyway, TwitchCon was fun. Outside of that part, I had a panel on Sunday afternoon as well. So Captain passed away Sunday morning, and I didn't know what to do because I was just stuck. Like I was stuck there. I was stuck in California. I had all of these obligations of things that I had agreed to do at TwitchCon too, and I didn't want to like let people down. I had a panel about charity streaming on Sunday night, and it was at 5 p.m., which is like the absolute last thing that happened at the entire con. So all day I was just like dreading having to do public speaking that night. But I felt like if I didn't do it, I would feel really guilty. And I already felt guilty enough about not being home. So I kind of was like, I might as well just go and do this panel. So I went and I did a panel in front of a bunch of people on this day where I was just absolutely going through it. I didn't tell anybody about it either because I didn't want to talk about it in person. So I thought if I did, I would start crying. But I made it through. We survived the weekend. It was fine. It sort of. Captain wasn't fine, but it was fine. And now I'm home. So that's what I've been up to lately. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I've also made a lot of progress on the build I was yapping, so now is gonna be my chance to try and catch up real quick. And again, I know I sound like I'm being giggly and like I think this is funny. I'm honestly, to put it bluntly, I think my mental health has never been this bad. Like in my entire life, I've struggled a lot with mental health my whole life, but I think I've never been this bad before. I'm trying to power through, but I'm not thriving at the minute. But anyway, so the build. This whole big open space is kind of supposed to be like the community space of the building. I can't believe I'm just jumping back into this. I'm sorry. Speed builds are so weird. But kind of what I was thinking is I wanted to have one big open room full of living space and also game space for the Sims to mingle around through. I separated it by putting a big, I don't know, block in the middle of it, and I had fireplaces on either side, kind of like a big internal chimney almost. And on the side closer to the front door, we have game tables. So those 3 tables you're seeing with chairs are actually game tables. So your Sims can do puzzles, they can play cards, they can play symbols, which is kind of like Scrabble. And I've got all of those set up there in the middle. There's also kind of like a front desk here in the middle as well, so you could check in. You don't actually have to check in The Sims 4. I like putting one because it seems realistic. I've also got a fish tank, there's a record player. I put a piano in here because one of the default things is to have an entertainer come to this lot, so I figured they could play piano in this room for you if you wanted. And then on the other half, that's more of like the living space area. So there's 2 couches by the fireplace and also a couch by the TV, so you can kind of like sit and yap if you wanted, or you could sit and watch TV if you wanted. I put some chess tables in there. There's more music on that side. There's also a big public bathroom downstairs in this area because I've got bathrooms upstairs that they aren't ensuite bathrooms, but they're kind of like private more so. Like maybe like 2 Sims share a bathroom, kind of like a dorm in some ways. But the one down here is more like a public bathroom. There's like toilet stalls because I figure if you had visitors coming here, they'd be hanging around in this area. So I wanted to try to cater to that. I also put a video game console. I've got the new retro console from Adventure Awaits put up there. The retro console reminds me of my grandparents because I used to play GameCube games at their house, which I know calling the GameCube retro is gonna hurt some of you. I apologize. And if it makes you feel worse, there are also a lot of people watching this video that have no idea what the GameCube is. So we're all getting old now. But my grandparents used to have a GameCube and I would play it in their basement. And so it reminded me of them. So I put that there. And actually the console from the holiday event is more like a GameCube, but this one, the console from this pack has different games. Like it actually plays retro games instead. So that's why I put it. And just by the way, the GameCube came out in 2001. So when I realized that one hurt me also, because I don't know, it was old when I was playing it, I guess, but I didn't even realize that at the time, you know? Anyway, this is me just trying to put in some decor around here. I was trying to put like candles and plants on top of the fireplaces, and I'm ashamed to admit this build has so many packs, like a disgusting number of packs inside of it. I was using kits galore. Like I was just going all out when I was doing this, but I did just post a base game video on YouTube this week as well. So hopefully that kind of like balances out in the grand scheme of things. I always feel a bit guilty when I go overboard with pack content, but anyway, over there, that's like the living space. There's one empty room in the back. That's gonna become the art room later on. Right now, we're kind of starting to think about the cafeteria space. So this is where we're gonna have tables just for eating. I've got a few round tables. That big tile empty room you can see right now ends up being the kitchen. I also put a buffet table in here. This long, skinny buffet table is actually from an event. It's from the anniversary event that happened earlier this year, so you can't even get it anymore. But I really liked how it was long and skinny, and your Sims can stock that buffet with pre-prepared food, which I think could be helpful for you when trying to feed this many Sims, though there is also an actual kitchen. And in this kitchen, I tried to have as much counter space as physically possible. It's really big. It doesn't need to be this big, but from my experience playtesting on this kind of lot and just playing with the custom venues in general, I found that you tend to have an overabundance of food, or worse, an overabundance of unfinished food, because there's usually a person whose job it is to do the cooking. At least when I've been setting them up, I've been doing that. But when they cook, everybody else will get hungry and think, okay, it's time to eat. But if there isn't any food ready yet, everyone's gonna try to cook all at the same time. So you end up with a lot of half-finished food just kind of being set around. A way that I've found to try to work around that is to set it up so that the chef sim will cook before the time slot for everybody to eat. Because the behavior of eat breakfast will have them either grab a serving of food that's already there, or they'll try and make their own if there isn't food already there. So if you make sure that somebody else cooks before the majority of people have to eat, you won't have them all cooking random stuff, is kind of what I've noticed from playtesting. But I gave you extra counter space just in case all the counters get full, because I've had that happen to me many times. But this room is gonna become that art studio area. I wanted to have space for hobbies. Like, we have all the games, but I think doing some pottery, doing woodworking, doing painting, all of that kind of thing makes a lot of sense in here. My great-grandmother was very involved in her local senior center, and she did a lot of like embroidery and things like that while she was there. I have a lot of things that she made back in the day. So I put a couple things like some cross-stitch hoops and some yarn baskets just out and about in the rest of the building, like by a couch. But in here I wanted to have all of the other crafty stuff, because you can't really very easily put a pottery table or like a pottery wheel just in the middle of the kitchen, but you can put a yarn basket next to a table. So I kind of peppered those around, but in here is more of a focused art room space for you to work on. And then this next room upstairs, this is kind of like a massive stair landing that actually ends up being a secondary living space. In my mind, this is kind of like the louder of the living spaces, although I did put computers in here. So I have all those counters up along that back wall because there was some roof clipping in there, because I have that big open area by the stairs and that causes the roof to clip. So I put counters in front of it, and then I used that as a place to put a couple of computers, because they might need to use a computer. They could do their emails, you know, whatever, up in this area. But then also up here, I put a couple of the foosball tables. I put a ping pong table. There's another TV set up, or maybe there's no TV and it's just a fireplace. We'll see in a second, I can't remember. But I've got a lot of other activities up here. I had a lot of fun putting the ping pong table as well, because I never ever used that ping pong table. It came in university, and I find it like kind of big and hard to fit a lot of the time. So I was very excited about finding a place for it to go up here. Although realistically, the ping pong table, and you'll see in a second, I put it right in between the wall, the stairs, and the computers. So if the ping pong balls go flying at any point, you're gonna get like smacked in the head while you're using the computer, because they're gonna be shooting them directly towards you at the PC, but that's fine. They're like flying down the stairs or something, but luckily in The Sims, it doesn't actually happen like that. It's no issue, but in real life, that would be a genuine concern. Oh, and something else that was brought up a lot about this was pool tables. This comes up all the time where people in my Twitch chat are like, oh, you should have put a pool table up there. And there's no pool tables in The Sims 4, which I can't believe either. It's been years, we still don't have any pool tables, but after all this time, they have never added pool tables into this game. We have foosball and we have ping pong. That's it. I guess we have darts too, which is kind of a similar vibe, but as far as table games go, no pool. This is the pool. We have a real pool. I'm just adding in a couple things outside. I used a lot of the Riviera Retreat kit out here because I was already using it for the scalloped tables. And so I used some more things like the lounge chairs and the towel setup over here. I really wanted to have a bar somewhere as well. I was thinking about trying to put it outside, but I didn't super love how it looked. I thought about doing the globe bar, but that one has a few less options to it, so you can't use it for as much. What I ended up doing was swapping it to be like kind of by the door to the art room. So it's sort of just tucked away. It might be kind of a random location for it, but it almost looks just like a plain side table. And if you know about it, then you know that you can use it for gameplay. And that's why I've put it up there. I also put the dartboard upstairs and kind of like swapped that back around. Before I had the dartboard where the bar was, like kind of by the art room, and that doesn't really make any sense anyway, because I had the dartboard on the wall next to the art room door. So imagine if you just open the art room door and someone's just like shooting darts directly towards your face. That's no good. So I've got it upstairs in the game space instead. Makes a little bit more sense. Okay, and then out here, I've got this like side garden attached to the building. This is where I put a couple of yoga mats. So I have one of the teacher yoga mats and then 3 just regular ones. So you could do yoga classes or just do yoga for fun. I don't really super love where the yoga mats are placed. But I was kind of stuck with that placement of it because there's a foundation, and the teacher yoga mat, it's kind of like a rug where it's got like a big footprint. If you try and put it closer to the wall or to like switch to the other side, it makes it start floating. So that was the only place where it physically fit back there, unfortunately, but it's okay. It looks fine. And now we're going upstairs. This is kind of getting closer to the end of the building. We're just starting to put together all of the bedrooms now. There are 8 of them upstairs, and I tried to do different styles for every single one of them. They've all got the same furniture, like the same bed, the same nightstands, the same desk, just in different swatches and with like different additional decor. Kind of what I was going for was as though the furniture all belongs to the building, but the people that are here maybe brought their own sheets, they brought their own decorations, and they're living here with some like extra stuff from their own space. Kind of like a dorm in college too, how like the university has the beds and the dresser, but you put all your own stuff surrounding all of it. That's what this is. This first one kind of has like a fishing theme. So I've got some like fishing decor, there's fish on the wall, there's a fish rug, and it's got that kind of like green and red vibe. Then I did a more pinkish one for a sim who's interested in plants. And that sim with this like blue carpet on the floor, they have probably the nicest room in the entire place because they've got their own balcony. I feel kind of bad. Only 2 of them have real balconies. This one and the one on the other side that mirrors it. But I think if I was gonna have my sims come here, I'd probably claim this bed as my own. But they've got a desk, they've got their bed, and then they just have like some cute stuff around it. I also put the flower press item from Enchanted by Nature on their desk because I feel like if they're gonna be into plants, they might like to have a flower press. So I gave them that. They've kind of got a brighter color scheme. They've got some house plants. They have a full-length mirror, you know, stuff like that. I cut a couple of the rooms out because it was getting a little bit repetitive, but I'll tell you about a few of the other ones that I'm not going to show you just yet. And then I will show you them at the end when we do the tour. But I also have a music-themed room. And in that one, it was the last one that I did. At first, I had put a keyboard and a guitar in there because I was like, oh, it's so cute. They're interested in music. And then I realized if we're going to have an entertainer sim, I don't want to have any musical instruments outside of the public areas because I don't want the entertainer sim to go and perform for tips with a guitar inside of one of the bedrooms. So I had to delete the piano in there instead because there's pianos out and about in the rest of the space, and that room just has like music decor. There's like music pictures on the wall. But it was kind of funny when I was like, wait, we can't do this. This room's kind of pink. It's for an artist, so I gave them some crafty decor from Nifty Knitting. I also put a couple of laundry baskets around in here. This was kind of maybe a scary choice for me to have made, but I ended up adding in a laundry room downstairs. I cut out the footage of me furnishing it, but I'll show you at the end. But yeah, I don't know if this is gonna be the greatest idea to have laundry on one of these lots. I don't even know if it works properly. I only played in this place for a couple of days, so I'm not sure if it's gonna pile up or get really bad, but I did not put a hamper in every room, just in some of the rooms, because I think if there's one in every single room, it'll be too much to manage. But if there's one in just a few of the rooms, like maybe half of them, it's a little bit easier for you to keep track of, and then you don't have 8 or God forbid 10, because there's 2 staff rooms downstairs. 10 hampers to try and be washing stuff out of is a lot. That's a lot to ask of your Sims to bring up and down the stairs too, so I avoided that one. This next room is actually also kind of fish themed, but in a different way. They're like a different kind of fish theming, and there's just a shocking amount of fish decor in this game, so I kind of just took that and I ran with it. They have made maybe like a nautical theme is a better word. I put the canoe paddles, I've got the wheel, the steering wheel. There's a little lighthouse lamp. I used a few things like that in here to make it seem kind of fishy. Even they've got the canoe paddles. There's a wheel, a decorative wheel on the wall. There's a lighthouse lamp. I've got this sailboat decor that I put in there. But I think that just about wraps up the rest of the speed build segment of this video. What I want to do now is go back into the game and give you a proper tour of everything, because I know I've cut a couple things out. I talked about myself instead of the build for a while, so there's some things you might have missed. So I want to jump back in and give you a real-time tour. So as a recap, we're building this on that Jellyfish Jubilee lot type in Gibby Point. I've got it set as a custom venue already, and now I'm going to download this senior living community lot off my gallery. It costs 254,000 simoleons. It uses so many packs, like 3 full pages of packs. And when you download it off the gallery, it should come with my custom schedule, because I edited the one that they have by default just a little bit. I found that it just might take it a second for it to properly load in. So I'm gonna place it and then let it just sit there and hope that the schedule shows up. Oh, okay, good, it's here. So you can see I added things like diving and swimming and yoga to this workout section. Then they play table games, they'll have dinner, and they'll do free time and then just go straight to bed. I also took away the visitors. By default, there's like 3 visitors that show up, but I don't really care about that, so I removed them. We just have seniors, staff, and an entertainer. Okay, well, here's what it looks like from the outside when you first walk up to the building. I've got a little bit of landscaping. It kind of has this like wildflower vibe with the pink and the purple, and I tried to match it to these planter boxes from Get Famous. There's a couple of balconies on each side over here, and then in the very front, this little porch has a couple rocking chairs, there's a drink tray, and we also have a little chess table outside. I'll show you the balconies first. So this one is actually attached to one of the rooms. They've got some planters and also a games table. This one has a rocking chair and some more planters. And then on this side, we've got more games, more planters, a bonsai tree. And then up here, I've got another easel, another plant, and also a flower arranging table, because I wanted to have a bunch of hobbies. But when you first come inside of the building, this is kind of that large open community space that I keep talking about. So by the front door, we've got a little table. We have a piano for the entertainer. This is like a fake front desk for a receptionist. This desk item is actually from Get to Work, and it looks like a reception desk, which is kind of fun. It's got clutter that's just attached to it by default. These 3 are all the card tables, so you can play the various card table games. You could do a puzzle, you could play whatever with friends. There's some bookshelves, we have a fish tank, and then this, I'm really embarrassed by this, okay? But on the gallery, it's backwards, and I'm so sorry. I honestly have no idea how I pulled that off. You might have to rotate it if you download the lot. The other one is fine. I've got one right here and it's fine. Somehow I put the record player backwards and it's uploaded like that. I'm so sorry. But over here, this is like the second half of the living space. We've got 3 chess tables. There's like a little board game shelf. This is kind of like an open hangout area. I've got some yarn for you to do knitting. This one's surrounded by a TV, so you can play video games, you can watch the TV. And then this is that public bathroom downstairs, plus supply closet, so you can woohoo in there. We have a bar, and then this is the little art room. Kind of looks like this. We've got a bunch of different art stuff, pottery, easels, woodworking, so you can do all of it. All the way back across this way, we have the little kitchen, well, big kitchen. Lots of cooking space for you. We have some tables for eating, buffet table, and then down this hall, this is the laundry. There's 2 washers and 2 dryers in here, plus there's some fire stuff just in case. It is The Sims 4. And then these are like the 2 employee rooms. So there's technically 3 employees that are here. There's 2 staff members and 1 entertainer. You can sleep 3 Sims in these spaces, and they share a bathroom right here. You can go out these big doors right here to the outdoor space. We'll go upstairs in a second, but we have a huge pool. There's a diving board. I've got a water slide. There's some lounge chairs back here. I have things like another drink tray as well. And then down this way, this is like an outdoor hangout space with a grill and also a hot tub. And then on this side, we've got a telescope. There's like a little bench underneath the tree that you can sit in. And we have this cute little side garden. I've got a couple more benches. This thing is actually a bird feeder. And then we have the yoga setup as well. So that kind of covers the whole downstairs and the whole outside. When you come up this staircase by the front door, this is where I have things like a couple computers. There's a paper crafting setup. We have darts. We have ping pong. I have some stacks of board games as decor. In here, we've got a little tiny TV sitting area with yarn. I think you actually can't use this cross-stitch basket in public. I think you need to have it in your inventory. I'm not sure if you can use ones that are just sitting out, but it looks nice. So I've placed that. We also have one more piano up here and just things like some books and stuff in the hallway. On this side, we have a foosball table, a record player facing the right direction, some more fish, some more books. Here's kind of a top-down overview of all of this. And you can see it's mirrored. There are 4 bedrooms on each side and 2 bathrooms on each side, plus actually a third one over here. So in total, there's 5 bathrooms upstairs and 8 Sims that sleep here. So I think that should be totally fine with the number of Sims that you're gonna need to be using bathrooms. I guess it would be nice if they all had an ensuite, but I just couldn't fit it. There wasn't enough space. Let me quickly show you all of the bedrooms. So this one is kind of for like an artsy, crafty Sim. They've got some cute artsy decor on the walls. We've got this one for a fishy Sim. They've got some fishy decor on the walls. We have this one for a Sim who's interested in plants. They have like lots of pretty colors and plants and a flower press item. This one is for a nautical Sim. They have like all the nautical stuff. I showed you those 4 in the video. But then over on this side, this one's kind of like a wilderness Sim. I don't know, it's got a lot of like green and brown. They also have an extra closet, so you can woohoo in that too. This one's for a Sim who's interested in archery. They have a dartboard, they've got like the archery clock and the bow and arrow on the walls. This one was supposed to be kind of generic. I know that sounds bad, but I was kind of going for like slightly more vague in terms of interest. I just used some of the Gibby Point decor. I've got like some of the camp posters and stuff. They have a little fishbowl. Because I was worried that if you wanted to play here, if you didn't like any of the themes of the other rooms, you needed to have a space that worked for you. This one was kind of meant to be more appealing to a broader audience. And this is that music room that I had to remove some stuff from, but it still has lots of music in it. It used to have a keyboard right here and then I had to get rid of it, but they've all got different colors, lots of different themes, and that covers the entire build. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. Sorry about all my yapping and sorry to be like the bearer of bad news, I guess. I don't know. It's helpful for me sometimes to have this kind of normalcy, even when I'm really going through it. I've been making speed builds like this every week for like 10 years. It's been a real constant in my life, even when things are tough. And right now things are really tough, both with like this EA thing, but also just in my personal life. I'm really not thriving, let's put it that way. But anyway, on that note, I'm gonna end this video right here. Thank you again for watching and for making it all the way to the end. If you're still here, that's impressive. And I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow, okay? Bye everybody. And also, I'm kind of trying my best to power through right now, but if I randomly disappear and don't upload, you can blame the dog for dying, because it comes and goes in waves. The grief is miserable, and I think you all probably relate to that. So just bear with me. It's a really weird time.